And then they come back, right?
We should read the list of press before you decide where you're going. No, he'll see things like he's right there. I like it better when it's here. I'm like, are you?
And it's just
Kevin's making it tonight. Is Kevin, have you talked to Kevin at all?
He told me
I
he
talked
was
to
coming.
Kevin, he said he's coming, but he just.
You'll be sick.
What's that?
Mostly not feeling good.
I think that's where I got sick last time up here.
You're blaming me.
I'm blaming you and Nicole. No, not this time, the last time.
So like,
I said, well, everybody was, well, Chris came in, he goes, everybody up the,
I was sick.
like 5 years ago, I was going on a snowmobile trip, and my flu was going around really bad. And my mom, was like, you need to start taking vitamin D3, 1,500 milligrams a day.
I'm married, by the way.
And I was taking vitamins. Since I started taking that stuff,
I take D3, I don't know how much, and they're gummies, so
I take a lot.
not that kind
What
of
else is
gummy.
in there?
Yeah. I think all right, I just think 2 days, so they must be like 7.
Huh.
Oh. Why'd you prematurely turn your mic on?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Harris.
Here.
Fernand. Maher.
Here.
Youngers.
Here.
Forrestal.
Here.
Public comment, matters already on the agenda. Anybody? Moving on. Approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call.
Forrestal.
Yes.
Maher.
Yes.
Youngers.
Yes.
Harris.
All right, we'll move right down to new business. Council vote to approve transfer to G-Works Cloud from G-Works Simple City. You want to kind of give a rundown of that?
So G-Works Simple City is the original software that the city has had since 2012. They are now transferring to a cloud-based program. They've been slowly doing this over the past year. We have switched just our payroll and HR stuff from Simple City to cloud. However, the rest of Simple City no longer has tech support. So we currently pay $7,500 a year for the half and half program or whatever it is. They have a bunch of different modules. If we were to purchase each module individually, it would be $12,600. If we purchase it as a package, it'll be $10,100 a year. Since we've already paid the $7,500, that would come off the $10,100, and then we would just have to pay that remaining amount for this year. There's also no implementation fees since we are already a customer for G-Works. Basically, if we don't transfer, we will not have any more tech support, and eventually, like, our software systems are not going to mesh with the state of Iowa's reports and all of those things.
make a motion to transfer to G-Works Club.
Roll call.
Forstall,
Yes.
Ferris.
Yep.
Maher,
Yes.
Youngers.
Yes.
Council vote to approve derelict building grant application. Did you guys get a look at that?
Did not.
Not
Didn't see
really.
it.
It's right there.
It's on your desk.
So anyways, I can kind of explain it. It gives you a rundown there, but
Didn't see that.
Angie is working, and this will be just for the exterior of the building. And there's a whole bunch of different stuff on there, but roof, siding, gutters, getting the bell tower off of there, getting that sealed up, fixing the leaks, exterior leaks. I don't see why we wouldn't do that. But if anybody's got any questions, it's all there.
We're just approving that we apply
Yeah.
for it because they get hundreds and hundreds of applications and.
Yeah, but she seems pretty confident. She's had this lady in town, toured with her on a few different things.
I don't see why you wouldn't apply.
Yeah.
I said, I don't see why you wouldn't apply.
I'll make a motion to accept the grant application.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Can I ask a question though? Or what is, Keith and I are trying to do budget here. I'm the head of buildings.
Yep.
And I don't know if we're setting up a new column in here for that civic center, a different one for down there. We've really got no instruction on order.
I mentioned something when I walked in today, so they're looking for something.
But I don't know what I'm voting on here. I mean, are we keeping this as a civic center? What's our goal here?
That's the goal.
That's your goal. Okay.
Yeah.
Just so we're clear.
Right.
Keith and I's goal is to keep the civic center down there. So you are aware of that. So, okay.
I think you still try to add value to the building regardless if we end up selling it.
No, I just
Change our
wanted to
minds,
clarify
yeah.
before I move it up.
And some of these costs are cost shared, so we could put up 50% and the grant would pay 50% if we're awarded it.
And some of them are 100% up to a certain amount. You see that?
Right.
So we had a motion and a second, right?
Yes.
Roll call.
Forstall,
Yes.
Kernan. Ferris.
Yep.
Maher,
Yes.
Youngers.
Yes.
Okay, Tim, you're up.
Can I say something first?
No,
He's-
no, no,
He's
no.
made a bad,
We're-
wrong motion to accept it
we're not.
instead to approve it. Use the wrong word. For the minutes.
And no more public comments.
You say approve the application instead of accept the application.
I would like to say, I would like to approve the application, grant application, instead of accept.
I'll second.
Forstall,
Yes.
Youngers,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Kernan. Ferris.
Indeed.
You ready?
Yep.
All right, we had, planning and zoning, we had MMS Construction approach us for the Anderson family. They're wanting to dissolve their family trust so that the children can have their own say of their own property. So they can have their own say of their own property.
Anderson does.
The Anderson, yeah. They're not asking for rezoning. It's just reallocating where the properties are at the property lines, easements possible in the future or not. We have a drawing up here. They can explain it all a little bit better, so I'll just give them the floor. But that's the layout of the Anderson 400. And I'll let Dave here run with it. Let me grab my stack of papers so it doesn't fall everywhere.
I'm David West with MMS Consultants out of Iowa City. I'm a land surveyor. Rick is my boss. He's also a licensed land surveyor. Our goal is to help facilitate the dissolution of the trust of the Anderson, according to the wishes of the dissolution of trust for the Andersons. We contacted Scott County. They said it's your purview, so that's why we're here. We are not looking to change anything. We are looking to provide a property for Paul and Mary Jo, his wife Mary Jo. They are adding some property to what they already own. The sister that drives the school bus, I don't remember her name. Karen, and her is getting the piece that goes down to 67 all the way up to the house. The remaining 250 some acres will be held jointly by the remaining 4 sisters. And what we're here to the bottom line is we don't want to subdivide the property, but we do want to make division lines in the property to facilitate transfer of ownership. That is the bottom line. No rezoning, no development. We're just changing the name of who owns what part of the property out there. In the process of doing this, we are creating a 66-foot wide access easement all the way down the highway, up to the point where all the properties are served by an access easement that will be maintained via a maintenance agreement that they put in place. So we're just asking that, is it okay to, the county has waived their jurisdiction to you, and we do this all the time in other counties, but we're here to ask your blessing to make auditor's parcels to create 3 separate parcels that can be transferred amongst the family.
Tim, does that, in your opinion, change the green?
No, it does not change anything with the green. All the zoning is going to stay the same. And, you know, our recommendation is to the city to approve this dissolution for them so they can all move forward and have their own, their own piece of inheritance.
And they are still marketing it as Green Business Park, at least Paul and Mary Jo, which have 100 acres of it, are still marketing it as such. The Green Business Park certification, or your zoning, their state certification, because of COVID, was extended 2 years. They would have to renew their state certification, I believe, sometime in December of this year, in order to keep whatever. I'm not an expert on that at all. I don't know what the connect is there. We're not asking for any zoning change or anything. If at any time somebody wants to develop or do anything with the property, it's still going to have to come to you with subdivision and improvements and all of that stuff. At this time, we're not changing anything. Same farmer's going to rent the farm ground. He already has his lease and all that.
But it won't be a 400.
It still could be. You know, somebody could come in and buy the whole shooting match. But at this time, the girls and the boy. That's all they're doing.
I don't see anything wrong with that.
I don't know why we would argue that.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the boundary changes.
I don't think we can. We're just reviewing tonight. But
What we may need if the county asks, we may need a letter stating that it's okay and they'll have some verbiage that we can forward that can be signed by mayor and tested by the clerk. So we just wanted your blessing. We're not trying to pull any fast ones. We're surveyors.
Yeah.
That's what we do. And we had a wonderful time over here and enjoyed a nice cold beverage across the tracks one night. So, thank you.
Yep, thanks, guys.
Okay, before I move on to the next one, in our meeting, we did start reviewing the wellhead protection draft, but basically, no one's read it in 2 years, why it's new, And we're focusing on the capture zones to kind of change the whole verbiage of the whole ordinance. So it's going to be, it'll probably take a few months to get through it, but still on. Okay. So tonight, I brought Kent down from Eagle Solar to explain what Bill Grunder asked to explain at our meeting that we had for our little jam session in January about how the rates go up and the, the effect that's going to have to the taxpayers with the increasing demand on the electrical grid. And he's got some news on that. What is it? It's a tax credit. And that investment tax credit that's still alive for a little while. It's not the same as what we talked about with the last time with the solar energy. What do you want to call that thing? Grant. So if that's all right with you guys, I'll have Ken get up here. And if you have any questions for him, just to explain the whole process. And we're not going to talk about like cost of it all, but what the savings we can have as while the rates are going to be going up.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the council. Again, my name is Kent Kraus. I'm from Eagle Point Solar. Tim had asked me to really discuss not so much the details of the solar project itself at the wastewater treatment plant. We had kind of addressed that in the past. It was really more talking about kind of changes in the market and some things like that. So what I passed out to all of you is just some documentation here on what the experts are saying with regards to energy costs moving forward. So the first page there, and I'm not going to take up the council's time by going through all of this, but I did highlight one line on that sheet there, and it talks about data centers. I'm sure if you've been watching the news, reading the papers, you're hearing about these data centers that are popping up. These are incredibly huge users of energy. A data center like the ones that they're talking about in Cedar Rapids will use as much energy in a year as a town of 15,000 people. So these things suck up a lot of energy. One of the things that does is it puts a little strain on the grid and strain for utilities. So if you look at this chart here, this is a study that was done by Enverus. They are consultants to the utility industry. And the light gray stuff on the left side of the chart there is what has been going on for the last 15 years. So you can see that has been pretty stable, pretty flat. The last couple of years, there's a small tick up there. But overall, the load on the utilities has been pretty static for the last 15 years, little small ups and downs. The rate of increase on average to the utilities has been just under 4%. So utility rates go up on average about 4% per year with no load growth at all. The darker gray there is showing the expected growth over the next 25 years. So you can see there we're going from a flat load to exponential load growth over the next 25 years. That's driven in part by these data centers. It's driven in part by just things being electrified, cars, different things like that, more automation, more electricity use. So what happens to the utilities is they're put in kind of a tough spot right now. So they need to produce more energy. They don't have the capacity to produce that energy. So what happens is they do a couple of things. They need to create production. So they'll build production. That may come in the form of renewables, wind and solar. The tax credits to companies like MidAmerican to put up a wind turbine or a solar field, those are going away. So when those are gone, that will cost them 30% more to build those facilities. That will trickle down to all of the ratepayers. The other thing is they'll build nuclear, they'll build natural gas, but those are things that take a long time to get put into production. So what happens there is it's simple economics, right? We have demand growing, and we have a low supply, what happens? The prices go up. The other thing they'll do is if they don't have enough production, they'll be buying it on the open market. When you buy that on the open market versus producing it, obviously that costs more. The utilities are in business to make money. They're guaranteed to make a certain amount of money. So they make that up by raising rates. So that's where, when you look at this load growth, the anticipation is rates are going to go up faster than we've seen them in the past, simply because we're going to have load growth like we haven't seen in the past. Okay. There's another sheet in here. This one just talks about the significant load growth for some utilities. On the right side of the chart there, I've got it highlighted. Mid-American is one of the top 10 utilities for recent load growth. So again, this is impacting all of utilities. Mid-American is in the top 10 of utilities with load growth in the country. So again, when we think about what happens when we have more consumption or we have more load growth and not enough production to cover it, prices are going up. There's been a lot of articles written that you can anticipate rates going up anywhere from around 8% on average per year, all the way up to 12% on average. I'm working with a couple of municipalities. Central City is one. We built an array out there 4 years ago, and we're looking at City Hall now. When I compare the rate that they were paying 4 years ago compared to the rate now, that has grown on average 11.6% per year. I'm working with the City of Holy Cross. We built an array for the church, or excuse me, for the city out there. And now the church is looking at an array. When I compare the rates from 2.5 years ago to now, there was a 9.6% on average growth year over year. And then in Dubuque, I'm working with a facility that we looked at a few years ago. They didn't move forward. They're looking at it again. They had an 8.6% increase on average over the last 2 years. So we're starting to see these rates going up faster than we've seen them go up in the past. So with all of that said, when you think about how can you improve a general fund of a municipality, one way is lowering the cost to the city to buy energy. Building a solar array allows you to have, while you do have an upfront cost, that upfront cost is paid over time by lowering the cost of the energy that you're using, because the cost of energy coming off an array is far lower than what you're paying the utility. Once you've taken enough savings to pay off that upfront investment, everything after that is just cheap energy. So you're kind of hedging against utility rates going up faster and faster and faster by having an asset that produces energy at a fixed rate. Okay. Another question that had come up was in regards to the tax credit. So there's been a tax credit for solar for a while. For residential solar, that ended in December of last year. So the end of 2025, residential solar tax credit went away. There's still a tax credit for commercial solar, and that is good for a while now. Cities would fall under that commercial solar. It is different than a tax credit, though. In the past, we had a tax credit. Non-taxable entities couldn't take advantage of that, so it doesn't do them any good. 2022, with the Inflation Reduction Act, they added a provision that any non-taxable entity that installed solar qualified for a direct pay option for the equivalent of the tax credit. So that's 30%. The way that that works is, under the rules that we live under today, from when this was instituted until July 4th of 2026, any project that starts construction by July 4th of 2026 falls under the rules that we're under today. 30% direct pay back after the completion of the project. There's a process that you go through to file for this, and then within 12 to 18 months, you would receive those dollars. Any project that begins after July, well, and any project beginning before July 4th of 2026 has 4 years to complete construction. This is really geared more towards the big solar farms that you see, right? That take multiple years to construct. So they're flushing those out. Those have to begin construction by July 4th. If you start construction after July 4th, that direct pay option is still available. However, there's other rules that need to be followed to qualify for that. Those rules were supposed to be announced in August of last year. It's February of 2026. We still don't have those rules. So there's a bit of a gray area there. We can say if you started construction before July 4th of 2026, there's no problem. It's under the rules that we all know. After July 4th, still available, but there might be some other qualifications. Some things might be, there's something called a FEOC rule, foreign entities of concern. If you're buying equipment from a foreign entity of concern, that could be a problem. We don't buy equipment from foreign entities of concern. Most solar companies around here do not. It might be a domestic content provision. So a certain percentage of all manufactured items have to be domestically sourced. Problem with the solar market is we don't have people that build solar modules or inverters that are more than 60% built in the United States. It might be manufactured, put together here, but they're made from parts from other countries, just like a car would be. It might have a plant in Tennessee, but they're getting parts from all over the world to build that car. Kind of a similar thing with solar. So we know that tax credit is still available, that direct pay is still available under the rules we live under today until July 4th of this year. After July 4th, still available, but there's still some question marks that the Department of Treasury hasn't released, so we don't know exactly what those rules are. So I think, Tim, that's kind of what you wanted me to cover. Is that correct? And again, I'm happy to answer questions. I want to be respectful of the council's time, though. I know you got other business to attend to here. So are there any questions for me at all?
Tim, you were concerned about the bidding situation?
Yeah, I don't know how that worked. I mean, like I said, back in May, when we discussed it, we had two bids. The first one, we had a deadline, if we didn't approve it that night or relatively quick, it was gone. We didn't kill all the bids that night, because I remember we tabled it and discussed it later. Never got back. I don't know that process still.
Well, it's still tabled right now.
So I don't know if we take off the table.
It technically never leaves the agenda until it's
Okay. So I don't know if we take off the agenda, or put it back on the agenda, untable it. If we go with the second one, I know it's been modified and it's quite a bit cheaper than the first time it was offered. So I don't know how you guys, I don't know the rules on that. So.
I wasn't aware about the payment you will get, the 30, you said 30%.
Correct.
And like I said, when you get into it and it's produced as energy, whether or not we're paying the loan that we have to do to pay it off, we're still paying like just one way or the other, we're paying the money. Whether we're gonna finally catch up to it when we get the 15% increase, that unit out there would stay as the unit that we're paying. We don't, it's paying for itself. We don't see that increase on our budget for the taxpayers. I mean, we'll have to pay out in the residential area, but if we can stave it off, that's what the goal's for. I mean, so many cities are switching over to that with their utilities like that, their sewer funds on that, that's where it all comes from.
And Tim brings up a really good point. A lot of people look at this as this is a capital purchase, right? You have money or you finance it with money over here to buy this asset. If it's a truck, if it's a fire truck or something like that, if you don't spend that money, you still have the money over here. You have that money to spend on other things. This is a little bit different because you are spending the money today. Every time you pay that electric bill, you're spending the money. And you'll continue to pay that electric bill month after month, year after year to infinity, because obviously you need to keep the lights on here. So those dollars are going out the door. They're just going out the door at a slower pace, month to month, year to year, out the door, versus investing in an asset, then that can shift that capital purchase into improving the general fund side of things and lowering those bills. And like Tim said, at some point in time, we have that overtake the upfront cost of that. And then at that point, moving forward, then it's just savings every month to the city.
So this will have to go on the agenda for next month. We vote up or down. We don't have a choice. So
Status of the bids?
there were 3 bids submitted, or two or three? Two bids.
Okay. And are the bids still valid?
Well, the first one wasn't, the lower bid wasn't, because we didn't approve it, was it 2 weeks?
Yeah, well, that was right in the heat of all the tariffs.
Yeah, it was.
And
Yeah, I think
so-
they're only good for 60 or 90 days.
This one's 14.
Huh?
Yeah,
This is
that
14.
you can't look at the number on that's just that's a report. That's not a bid. It's just a financial analysis report.
No, that one's updated.
Yeah. We got an updated bid from Ken, right?
Yeah, and it's
No,
again,
but you have to
the-
open it again. You're gonna have to open it. Oh, sorry. This is why I was late, by the way.
So what you're saying is Ken would have to resubmit it?
We just
We'd have
gotta
to
have
put it out
something to vote up or down.
Okay.
Just
Well, we
today.
yeah, we can put this into a bid form.
We have to redo the whole process.
Yes.
And can you tell me how long are they warranted for, the units themselves?
Sure. So the solar modules themselves, the modules that we spec'd out have a 30-year production warranty, which means they degrade over time. And the 30-year warranty warrants against them degrading faster than roughly 0.5% per year. So if you think out 30 years, you're still producing, if it degraded that fast, which the studies show they don't degrade that fast or they wouldn't give you that warranty. But out 30 years, you're still producing 85% of what it was originally projected to produce. That's a production warranty. Then it also comes with a workmanship warranty against any manufacturer's defects. That's a 25-year warranty. In addition to those warranties, so that's a long time, right? 25, 30 years. This company goes out of business in 10 years. That warranty is worth nothing. Our supplier has put an additional insurance policy through Munich Re, which is the largest insurer on the planet, to cover the warranty in case the company goes out of business. So the warranty on the modules is backed by that insurance policy. The inverters, and I'd have to check to see what we spec'd out for inverters, they come with either a 12 or 20-year warranty, and then the racking is a 25-year warranty. The life expectancy of a typical solar array is about 45 plus years.
You said 45?
45 plus years, yeah.
What are you replacing after the 45?
I'm sorry?
What has to be replaced after the 45? Like, are we talking the panel? Like
We have
a whole
no
new
idea
thing?
because we don't have any arrays out there for
Right.
45 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, there's inverters. Think of the inverter as a computer, right? That's the brain of the operation. Inverters, like any computer, they're going to have hiccups. They're going to go bad. The panels themselves, those things are going to last a really, really, really long time. We've had solar panels in space for 60 years that are still producing energy, and it's a little harsher out there than it is here. But the inverters themselves, those will, like any computer, they do wear out. They'll have hiccups. When does that happen? I can't really tell you. Also, they're not super expensive either. So, you might be a few $1,000s to replace an inverter. And then when you compare that
How many
to,
inverters are on a system like this?
I don't know if they've got it listed on the document that I've got here.
It can be on the bid.
Yeah, we would have the equipment listed on a bid. This, yeah, it just gives me a Solar Edge inverter. It's probably one. That would be my anticipation with the size of it. We're not talking about a real big array here. They make inverters. I don't know if this is single phase or 3-phase by looking at this document, but yeah, I'm going to say probably one inverter.
And what does your timeline look like if we have to have this started by July 4th, kind of working in reverse? When would you have
Sure.
to have things in place to be able to get?
Sure. So the first thing that happens, once a contract is signed, we file an interconnection application with MidAmerica. that can take anywhere from 30 to 90 days. This is not a real big array. Likely big enough that it'll get a supplemental review, so they would have an engineer come out and look at things. The biggest concern with this particular project is because we have to go underneath the railroad. There is a pretty extensive process that we have to go through. We have to have a geotechnical company go. They have to do a study. They have to give a plan, submit a plan to the railroad. Railroad has to review that and either accept that plan or come back and say, we need you to make these changes. I have no idea a time frame on that. So that's kind of the challenge on this one is normally I would say, yeah, a couple of months, even if it takes 60 days to get the interconnection, that still gives us plenty of time to get construction started. Not a big concern.
The railroad portion be done after.
I'm sorry?
The railroad portion be done after.
Well, here would be the challenge. We could build the array and then worry about boring and stuff later. My concern with that would be if the railroad comes back and says, we're not accepting your proposed plan. We need you to do these 20 other things. And that 20 other things adds $100,000 cost. You're already knee deep in this thing. If you do the study first and you find that out, then you say, well, we're just not going to do the project. It doesn't make sense. If that eats away, all the savings that we would ever get, you're on the hook for the cost of that study, but then you just walk away from it. So personally, I wouldn't be comfortable building the array and then finding out later that we've got, potential things there. So that would be kind of the timeline that I think we would want to do. I shouldn't say we would want to do this. That would be my recommendation to the city.
You said those new rules were supposed to come out back in August, so essentially they should come out anytime.
It's one of these things that this happened back in 2019. They started stepping down the tax credit, and there was supposed to be new rules that came out, and we waited and waited and waited and waited, and then finally they came out with them. So I have no idea. If you gave me a date, it would be as accurate as if I gave you a date. We just simply don't know. It's the Department of Treasury needs to come out with them. And we all know how government works. They put together these big plans and then they have to get into the details, and that all takes time and energy, and there's a lot of stuff going on. So something like this seems pretty insignificant, I'm sure, to the Department of Treasury. And again, doesn't mean that the city can't get that 30%. It just means that there might be some additional things that happen that we have to, hoops that have to get jumped through and things like that. That's still there. The project, if it starts after July 4th, the rule is it has to be completed by the end of 2027, which is plenty of time for an array this size. It's just the gray area or the unknowns, I don't think really cause an enormous problem, but I don't know because we don't know what those things are.
If you don't touch the road, we went this direction with the array. Had to, not totally.
Well, I think really the only, because we're,
I just think railroad dictating everything we do. They seem to dictate our whole life in this town.
yeah, I don't believe there's any location north of the lagoons there or south of the lagoons that would be able to hold that. So I think the only option really is that field. And again, when we had put in a bid, we had talked to a company, Terracon, who had worked with this particular railroad before and had gone through this process and got it submitted. It's no guarantee that it will happen again, though. That's one of the unknowns too. That again, step one in the process really is to figure out if there's a viable solution there. Because, like I said, if they came back and said you gotta do a whole bunch of stuff, and what's really weird is, I mean, we're talking about a conduit this big, but when you're running a railroad, if something happens and a train derails, that's a big problem. So you just want to make sure that we understand what we're getting into there before we ever pound posts in the ground or put up any modules or anything.
Candy, as far as this table, what do we legally need to do with the table?
Well, you need to take it off the table, but then you're gonna need to seal it.
So that's what we'll have to do next time.
Talked about the geological study. Is that part of the bid, or is that
Yes.
in addition to the bid, we'd have to pay for that?
Well, it would become in the bid price. The bid that was sent out before had that kind of line item, so you bid on that. The bid also had a lot of different things in it. Like there was a black coated fence around the array, which seemed a little odd. This is kind of out in a field where nobody's going to be around it. To have kind of a nice, expensive black coated fence seemed maybe overkill. There was a requirement to plant grass and maintain the grass, water the grass until it was matured enough to survive on its own. Again, seemed a little odd out in a field that you would have a cornfield and then you'd have a nice grass patch under this array. It just seemed a little weird. There was a requirement to build an access road, which again, we're not talking about we're not talking about a big solar field that you're going to be out there driving in and out for 2 years. This is something that would get built in a couple of weeks. So there was a lot of added expense in the RFP that seemed unnecessary, but our job isn't to determine that. Our job is to bid on the information that was given. The other thing is that location is it's in a floodplain. So building in a floodplain, you're required to have the modules a foot above, I think it's the 100-year flood. So we had to use extended piers to get the array up high enough. So there's some complexities to the project for sure.
But we could run the wire through the culvert that goes underneath the railroad by the pump. Would that be an option that whoever you'd have to do your survey would look at? There's literally a culvert that goes
Yeah.
under the railroad track.
Do you know who owns the culvert?
No, I mean, I think it is. I think it's just for the runoff to get,
Yeah.
DNR or somebody. I don't know who put it in.
I don't
I'm
know.
just asking.
I would give you an answer, but I would be guessing and I don't want to guess.
Oh, right.
So, yeah.
Oh, I'm just saying because there's already something underneath this.
Right. And we're talking about a fairly small conduit
Right.
that I don't know how big the culvert is, but it certainly wouldn't impede any overflow or, runoff water or anything like that. But again, that's not for me to decide.
Who put that?
Yeah. And we're talking about probably 2-inch conduit. So any other questions from the council?
No, thank you.
Okay. Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you, Vince.
Any updates from any of the committees?
So do we just put that on the agenda for next month then?
No updates? Comments from the audience?
Done. So, done.
So we received a notice from our insurance company here last month or something. So if you don't know, we are required to get physicals for the fire department. We are, I believe, the only fire department in Scott County that does this. And looking at this notice we got from them, anybody that applies has to have a physical before they can do anything. So we are required to get a physical for somebody that puts in an application, doesn't know for sure whether they want to do this or not. And so we might be paying $300 to $500 for somebody that doesn't even last a couple months. So talking to Travis, I talked to Seth Porter at Porter Insurance in Eldridge to try and get a quote to maybe switch the fire department. And he said that being it's city owned, it's going to get messy. There's still going to be strings attached. So he was wondering if the city would be willing to look at pricing, moving all their insurance with them as well. Noting the time frame of when the renewal comes up, there's plenty of time to get that quote worked out to, see if you wanted to stay with ICAP or move to this other insurance. So they deal with many municipalities in the area, and he was going to try and come out tonight. He had some other things already going, so he couldn't come out to talk.
So I'm misunderstanding. You say we're the only fire department?
We are the only volunteer fire department that I know of that are having to
And you
do,
say that's because of our insurance?
that is ICAP. Yep. IMWCA, yeah.
So workman's comp.
The workman's comp through ICAP. Yeah. So,
I know, when Mel Foster was here doing your health insurance stuff, they were interested in all of it too. I guess if it doesn't cost us anything to get a quote, it'd just be a lot of paperwork to put together. Yeah, well, we got 3. The one we got now, Porter and Mel Foster. I don't see any problem at all with that. So, the only thing is, we're gonna need to make sure those kind of stipulations.
yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. I don't know what we'd be saving,
I mean, if,
you know, if,
Porter's $50,000 a year higher and they don't require, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It might be like, well, then I guess we'll just deal
it
with it.
might be yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. That's where I was at because, you know, if we're a full 30 people on our roster and everybody has to have a physical every 5 years at $500, that's 15,000. So, you know, you're,
When does that go?
October is when we have to approve it, November 1st.
Is that something that you have to put out for
Well, they'll-
anybody? You can't just have these
Yeah,
3
you
people.
can't pick the
These
3 that's
3 people
already-
can't just,
yeah.
yeah.
Who puts that? You. Because they're, I mean, we're gonna have certain things we wanna know or whatever.
Well, the whole deal with ICAP always was they grouped cities together and bought it in a pile rather than, it was cheaper in the big pile than it was going individually. But you can double check them. I mean, there's nothing wrong with double checking.
Why do they have a different policy on that then? If they group in other cities, why do they have a different policy on one specific thing? then?
Well, because I don't think not all cities use them.
Well, I know, I'm just saying like the whole,
The workman's comp policy, so it could be something where we just look for different workman's comp policy.
Can we just go
Right.
with a different insurance company for just the fire department?
no, that's where he said again.
That, you can't do that?
Because being city owned, we're still tied in with the city. So if something did happen, it could still get, you know, a little iffy if somebody didn't cover it completely and you're still tied by both. So that's where it was.
The deadline that they gave you had to have these physicals by.
Actually, it's, I'm sorry. Too many papers, sorry. So they're implementing this and, sorry. It's actually immediately upon signing this, so.
And we are under contract with this company till,
So for this year, we just gotta deal with it.
You have a provision in there though that says if you want to volunteer at the fire department, go get a physical and bring it to us.
yeah, that's what I was gonna, I mean, a lot of works require them, a lot of people have them.
So-
You can go get them on your own.
Didn't they also say that they would send somebody here?
They said they would,
Have a
and
meeting they would do them all.
so I actually took mine, I went into my doctor with mine, and they can't do it there. They can't do it through your regular doctor. There's so much specific stuff. You actually have to go to like work fitness.
Specific.
You have to do the lung capacity test. You have to do hearing, color blindness, sight.
Why don't we, get our insurance guy in here next month and see what he says? Don't you think that makes sense before we go wild?
this thing says immediately, so.
Well, it's already.
Beginning
we're
May.
already-
May.
I mean, we're gonna have to pay it this year.
So
You know what I'm saying, Lori? I think we're already stuck with it this year.
I don't
Right,
think
if
it
they
goes
could have
till
the physical- the
July.
letter says like right now, but I don't understand why it wouldn't have been a,
it's been a thing in the past. Everybody's got to be compliant
It
now.
was in the policy
So
when we
it's
signed
been,
it originally?
yeah, it's been something that's had to be done, but it's just finding somebody to do it. And like I said, you can't just go to your regular doctor. They have to do an EKG.
No, that's what I'm
It's-
saying, is they would have to go to work fitness.
Yeah.
They're just gonna pay for it, not the city.
Well, we have it in our bylaws that we pay for it, because why would we expect a volunteer to pay?
If you wanted to be in the fire department, you could have that option.
Well, yeah, you could.
So you
They
guys don't
probably
have a
heard it
budget in your,
We
you don't
do.
have a line item in
We
your
do. Yeah,
fire department budget for it?
we do, but like I said, that's,
So you're here asking us for the money, what?
no, what I'm looking for is to see if we can do something, change maybe insurance or whatever, look at something to lessen that.
Okay.
If we go to a different insurance company that's pretty comparable, we're not having to. My main concern is so you put in an application, you have to have that physical before you can even
With
do anything.
Yeah.
So,
It's, yeah.
if you don't know for sure you're wanting to do it for sure,
How many are you looking at? How many do you have?
right now we have 20.
What about this, Josh? Let's just set up a work session.
Yeah.
As soon as we can with our insurance guy that we have
Yeah.
now, and see if maybe he'll say, well, yeah, you can change it or this or that, or change your policy somehow. Let's do that first.
Okay.
Like next week.
And can
We'll
you,
get a
in the
whole
meantime,
sheet
maybe
by right
find
now.
out other,
My doctor's office said they couldn't because of some of the things in that physical form.
They require you to have a hearing test, pulmonary function test, and you can't do that all in one place. So in great shape, you have to run all day long to go to different places to get into that stuff.
can you look out
All
to other fire departments who maybe have had this done and maybe they have someone that they've gone to that has
So,
worked out well
Like I
with?
said, I've talked to all the volunteer departments in Scott County that I work with, and
Even
none
maybe
of them.
ones that are volunteer, do you know, can you reach out to them? And
I can reach out
Maybe
to
they
them.
have got somebody that would come in and do it.
I am not. No,
What were they doing?
They
Hold on,
have-
Diane.
they have Porter.
My question.
Diane,
did anyone
Diane,
go to the hospital?
You have to go up to the microphone if you're gonna talk, and we've already done public comment, so. I can't, it'll get out of hand if I just let it go wild. So we're not
I
gonna,
was just offering a suggestion.
I get it.
So
We're gonna, you can get up there when he's done and offer a suggestion, is what I'm saying. We just can't, if I let it go wild, this thing will get out of hand. I can't do it.
So yeah, we can look at different ways. That was just kind of my thought of, seeing what we could do to kind of lessen that extra burden. If we had, like I said, something really comparable or really close, maybe.
Okay.
So,
Well, let's get a work session set up.
Okay.
With our insurance guy now.
Yep.
With whoever wants to show up, but we'll get everybody and we'll get you. And then
Okay.
That would be a place to start.
All right.
Because he may say, yeah, this is an easy thing. Here's why, or here's what we can change to make it so you don't have to do that.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Diane, you want to go now?
My suggestion just was that, did he check with the HR departments at hospitals? Because sometimes, I used to work for Genesis. I'm retired now, so I don't know if they still do it, but we did physicals for all of the high school kids for their sports physicals and stuff. Or we did when I worked there. For $10. So then if we got, rather than going through the hassle of switching insurance companies, maybe you could get a discounted rate. Now, it sounds like it's more intense because there's different kinds of physicals. You've got your sports, you got your work, and then you've got your complete physical. This sounds like it's even more intense than a complete that they do. So, but maybe they will work with you because they get to, do their little charity write-offs. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any more comments? Closing direction, Candy?
I did bring for the council for the upcoming presentation relative to the Winding Hills development from Rod Reed. The development agreement, we asked for it in Word so that we could make our comments, and hopefully there's enough for that. I thought I made enough copies. And so this time you got the tandem team because this is stuff Tom does morning, noon, and night development. That's why we have Elmore. For those of you who like it or don't like it, we have Elmore things to talk. That's a lot of red. That's, yeah, that's what we did to change it.
That's right, yep.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Would you like a copy too, since you're P and Z?
I'll make a copy.
Okay, thank you.
And I apologize for being late. Learn from those who make mistakes. Do not be on your cell phone and be by a Bettendorf police officer.
Well, how'd that go?
That went well. I got a verbal warning.
No, that's good.
Didn't text it to you?
Well, no, but she did ask me because she wanted my proof of insurance, and of course I couldn't find that either. And she says, "Well, don't you have it on your phone?" I said, "Well, do you want me to use my phone?"
So, what's the next step?
You will know, they can review it. You can email me with questions or whatever, and then I do have to provide you the annual certification, and then there is a requirement on the part of the city that before December 1 of every year, you have to let them know what the rate is going to be. That's in paragraph 3 down here, or, yeah. So you have to give them notice every December 1.
Closing comments from the council?
Motion to close. One of those.
You got one.
I'll give it.
Second.
Roll call.
Forrestall,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Fernand.
Yeah.
Stover,
Yes.
Bird.
Meeting adjourned.
Honestly, I would land it.
Introduce myself.